Good evening, everyone. This is Khyati, and I'm a thorough professional, meticulous, and self motivated HR professional working with Lumium Design and a consultant to a cybersecurity firm. I'm a go getter with a hands on approach towards any assignment and ability to get things work done with the best practices I have. I love art in the form of sketching and doodling, wherein I believe that doodling teaches me to capture tiny design elements which correlates with micromanagement. This tiny carvings in the design showcases the magnificent significance of being connected with each other, and which very much is in relevance with Women with Wings, where for the platform which we are going to talk today, where we believe that standing alone is not going to showcase the beauty. Now, moving on to today's session, first of all, a very warm welcome everyone for joining today's session. Women empowering women is the today's topic, which is presented by Women with Wings. So, Women with Wings, although it doesn't need any introduction, however, I would be delighted to share with you all what is Women with Wings about. Women with Wings is a baby of Shefali and dream of each of us. Women with Wings is a platform of like-minded women which brings forward the uniqueness of each woman by sharing their inspirational real-time journey of the relentless efforts which help other women to empower themselves. Now, moving on, I would like to say something about our topic, women empowering women. Topic itself is full of power. Women empowerment is the process of empowering women, or in other words, is to promote self-worth of women, their ability to determine their own choices and the right towards social change for themselves as well as others. Women empowerment can be done in several ways, which includes accepting women's viewpoints, which is really very important, boosting her self-esteem, making her effort to seek them, raising the status of women through education, awareness, literacy, and training, of course. And the most important thing which I feel is shutting down all the negativity. So this is about our topic today. Now, last but not least, without taking much of a time, I would like to introduce Ms. Lalita Panikar, our moderator for today's talk show. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ms. Lalita leads the opinion section at Hindustan Times. Over a span of 33 years career, she has specialized in gender issues, reproductive health, child rights, politics, and social engineering. She writes on varieties of topics ranging from social development to politics. In this role, she has tried to ensure that the issues which concern the voiceless do get editorial mention at a time when newspapers even tend to ignore them. Prior to Hindustan Times, she was associated with leading publications like Times of India, Indian Express, India Today. Her work involves interacting with large number of people with a diverse people of experiences with diverse range of interest, which she enjoys greatly. Her work has involved close and frequent interaction with senior officials at the Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Human Resource Development, and the Ministers of Health, Women, Childcare, and their education. Apart from her work, her interest, I would say, are sports, music, and literature as well. We welcome you, Ms. Panikar, and over to you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Khyati, for those very kind words. Thank you, Shefali, for inviting me to be part of this. And I'm really delighted to be in conversation with Ms. Raka Singh, whom I greatly admire and who, I must confess, right at the beginning, I'm a little biased, was a close friend of mine. Raka is one of those rare people who is absolutely determined not to sit back and enjoy any rest whatsoever, though she complains about it all the time, and has worked tirelessly to improve the lot of people in her ancestral hometown in the district of Maharajganj, UP, Uttaranchal actually, Eastern UP. She has set up the NGO Urja Energy, And the principles of this NGO are that is basically that it is environment friendly, it is sustainable, and it is scalable. So the NGO has worked under her vision and guardianship in the field of solar-based programs, skills, production units for sewing, a center for producing, the most interesting for me, a center for producing 100% biodegradable sanitary napkins by women, for women, of course, and organic farming. I would just like to say a little about the importance of what she's doing in terms of menstrual hygiene products, especially at a time of the pandemic. I came across a recent survey by the Menstrual Health Alliance of India, which found that during the pandemic, 84% of the women surveyed responded saying that they had either none or severely restricted access to menstrual products in communities. And where they did, they faced significant barriers to a comfortable and dignified experience of using these products. In India, about 71% of girls have no knowledge of menstruation at all when they start menstruating. They get information from their mothers, who also consider it either dirty or taboo, or they don't want to talk about it. And so about 88% of women use homemade alternatives such as rags, old cloth, ash, etc., which is unhygienic. And so what Rakha is doing that way is enormously, is really wonderful, because her sanitary napkins are 25 rupees for a pack of 6.
30 actually.
30 actually. Okay. And it's made by women from low-income communities, and therefore the very same women also spread the word, the news, information about awareness and the need to use it, and make it more easily accessible to girls. So and Raka's team has also worked on organic farming, is bringing back indigenous varieties of rice to that area, and she has collaborated with 12 farmers from the landowning community there, for both for fair pricing and for organic farming. This rice now has geographical indicator status, much like champagne from Champagne region, and can be only produced in 13 districts in India so far, especially all to be found in the neighboring region to Nepal. Now, the topic we are going to be discussing here is women empowering women who are able to shatter the glass ceiling. And if I may just say so, I think there are many things that we need to empower women in India. One is, most of all, is that we need the support of men, because it's still a very largely patriarchal society where men take those decisions for us, life choices for us, who we marry, whether we go to school, whether we can go to work, how many children we should have. It's still very much where we should worship, and until quite recently, who we should vote for. But I think that's changing quite a lot. And the most important thing I think we also need, and which is happening now, is that we need a legal architecture to back the rights that we have won with great difficulty. And so we need a legal architecture, which is happening with the judiciary, as I'm sure you know. Now, Rakha, coming back to Rakha, she's worn many hats in her illustrious career. She's been president of the Students' Union while working for her master's degree in history at Delhi University, just after India underwent a very dark period of its history during the emergency under Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. And Rakha led marches and protests for many of the human rights which were taken away from us. Well, all our fundamental rights were taken away from us, including the right of choice of reproduction, when men were sterilized, and women, of course, had no rights at all even then.
And the right to protest, Lalita.
And the right to protest. I was coming to that. Freedom of speech and movement. She was only 19 then, but I think her zeal to work for the oppressed and for human rights, and especially human rights for women, started there. After she married, he was in college with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a Belgian diplomat. She moved with him, but every step she chose not to sit back and just be a diplomat's wife. She reinvented herself, from being a teacher in Copenhagen to working in adult education in Amsterdam, to teaching ancient Indian history, to being an English language instructor. Oh gosh, I could go on all day. She's been involved in charitable activities for children, promoting the fine arts, and of course supporting her husband in his career as he rose. And that is what brought her to Delhi as the ambassador's wife. And while of course she had a number of social duties which comes along with being the wife of an ambassador of a very important country from the European Union as far as India is concerned, she also equally devoted a large amount of her time to Urja, her NGO. which she began in Maharajganj and Gorakhpur, covering 2,500 villages. She also had started helping a group of women from the Meenakshi Foundation in Bern to raise funds for this. And I think you supported a school in southern India with these.
At that time, yes, with
At
the
that time you did,
Meenakshi
yes.
Foundation, yes. Yeah.
So she said the Urja is set up on ancestral land donated by Raka's family, which is a very illustrious family which comes from that region. And what she's doing, especially in organic farming and menstrual hygiene products, is dovetails with Prime Minister Modi's Skill India project, in which he says that we should impart skills. It's no point just, especially for women, at least in my opinion, there's no point just giving them money, like monthly bits of money. They need to have skills. They need to be able to improve themselves, become economically independent. That is the most important thing. So what Raka is doing actually is not just helping women economically, it's also imparting a certain skill to them, which will stand them in good stead in the future. And so I think this pandemic has really taught us more about a sustainable way of living. And I think that's what Raka is doing with Urja. And though she has moved away from India with her husband in his diplomatic posting, new diplomatic posting, she keeps coming back to India to nurture her NGO, and which she hopes will stand on its own feet one fine day. But I think she will always have to be part of it because Urja is Raka. So do you want to add anything to that, Raka, before I ask you a few questions on
Yeah. So
your journey?
before we get into it, just, I wouldn't be where I am today without mentioning the few people that I'm going to mention now. Thank you very much, Shefali and Women with Wings, for giving me this honor and this opportunity. Thank you very much, Lalita, for all that you've said. I'm very impressed by myself because of all that you have said. See, this whole, of course, I've been supported every step of the way. And you made a very good point that men have to support us. Of course, in my family, I have been extremely lucky to be supported by my family, my father, starting with my father, who is at the basis of everything that I am today. Then, of course, my husband, who, good or bad, he supports me, and then my children, of course. But Urja would not be at the ground roots level where we are today, especially with this whole sanitary pad situation, if I did not have my two supervisors who are both male. The whole unit is run by women, but there are two supervisors, and you will not believe me what they do. The supervisor who is actually doing the day-to-day things for the sanitary pad situation, this is where we have reached. It's not only thanks to Urja, but thanks to this gentleman himself. Arun Mishra, he heads a sanitary pad unit. He literally goes about with the sanitary pad, making demonstrations at schools to males. This man can produce by himself. The pad man and things like that are rightly so very appreciative of what he did, Muruganathan did in India. But people like Arun Mishra from our NGO, this man has completely revolutionized the thing because he goes without any embarrassment, without any shame. He boldly talks about our pads. And to me, he's a hero. Similarly, we have another supervisor, Gagan Chaturvedi. He keeps, these two are my shoulders and my arms and my legs. So he keeps us going. And on a day-to-day basis, the organic farming, our Silai school, which is thanks to Usha International, with whom we do this, who have been our support immensely. So I am very encouraged just by these few people. I'm very, very encouraged that if you show the way, people are going to listen. We have the place where we hold our sanitary pad unit has been given to me free of cost by somebody, Balramji we call him, from that district, from that village, who actually built our center. And all that he said was, I have faith in what you're doing.
Fantastic.
And he gave me that space for free. We've never paid him a penny. And that's where a sanitary pad. So there are men.
That's fantastic.
And I think their stories should be said more and more. And breaking the glass ceiling, all my women, all my students, all my Silai school girls who are Hindus and Muslims, who come from every caste that you can imagine, they are the ones who are breaking the glass ceiling every day, every hour, because they have to leave their homes. They come from homes where the men don't like them going. They have bank accounts. We make sure that they have bank accounts. We make sure the money goes to them. We try to advise them that they should have a budget. They should, I always tell them one thing. The day that these 30 rupees for these 6 pads becomes a part of the monthly budget of the households who we are trying to affect, that day my job is done. If it becomes a part of the budget.
Very inspiring. Really
well, they inspire me. I mean, they are the ones, they are doing amazing jobs. Amazing jobs.
So, very interesting that you're talking about 3 men who have helped you so much in an issue which even many women across India are not willing to talk about.
Exactly.
Because they consider it dirty, taboo. I mean, it's not.
No. These are the 3 men who have been my backbone. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Especially during the pandemic. Yeah.
So we'll. I just tell us a bit about your life's journey, where you started, your journey through your college, your journey to meeting your husband, and to the point where this idea of an NGO, what made you think about it? Because you could have just traveled the world and not really put yourself into it. So just tell me a bit about that.
So I'll start at university, where we were a group of friends, and we used to have a good time. We all had a background. Our fathers were in the army, and we all had an army background. But I think the world was actually changing in that period. I joined university in 75, and the world was changing.
Yes.
I think something which everybody will understand, it is the year that St. Stephen's College went co-ed, where girls were also could join. But okay, I'm still very proud of my Miranda house. And
it was the year of the emergency.
It was the year of the emergency. Absolutely.
Momentous time in our contemporary history.
I must say, I think along with my parents, my father especially, my father was the one who, in 74, when it was not even a concept, he decided that we should go and visit the colleges before I decide where to study.
Oh.
Even I didn't understand this concept, but he took me on his Vespa scooter on a hot summer's day in June or July. And I had to go and visit every college. I had to look at the campus. I had to look at the living quarters. I had no clue. I said, you just decide and I'll go. And he said, no, you have to see it.
Did he do that for your brothers?
He didn't have the money for it because my brothers were going abroad. But definitely he did it for my elder brother, who then, that's a different story altogether. He was going for IIT and he ended up in St. Stephen's and stuff like that. But okay. So we were a group of friends and we were having a very good time. But somehow I decided I wanted to do a little bit extra. And my first so-called social worker was a Dutch lady, Mrs. Mossab. And she lived in Civil Lines, very close to my hostel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a disaster, a complete disaster. In the sense that she had a program to teach hygiene, and we would go to villages and we would show them how to clean their toilets and how to maintain hygiene. Till one day when I arrived, I heard the men and the women of the village saying, "Oh, they come every week to clean it, so we won't clean it." I said, "Oh, this shows that I'm being an idiot. This is not the way to bring about a mental change. You do something and people don't really see what you're trying to attempt." And so I left Mrs. Boss out.
They didn't value what you were doing. They just thought
Not at all.
they
Not
could
at all.
take advantage of you.
Exactly. That was the idea that वो तो आती हैं, उनको करने दीजिए. And then it went on. Then I became Students' Union president and things like that. And there was emergency. There was lots of stuff going on. And finally, in my MPhil period, I met my husband, who was specializing in Indian philosophy. And whole, fast forward to a few more years, we got married and stuff like that, and we got children.
Just to come back to you saying you met your husband, was there some resistance from your family because he was not an Indian or not the same religion? Or?
We're talking of about 40 years ago.
Yes.
When I met my husband. And to tell you the truth, my husband did not believe in marriage. So I said, well, this is not going to work. I'm living in India and I cannot just go away with you. This is going to bring shame to my whole family. And on top of it, we are Rajputs. So, I was supposed to marry a prince or a king or something like that. And there was a lot. I mean, unfortunately, I was always considered as having a very sharp tongue in the family, so nobody would dare to tell me anything. But my mother, poor thing, who was brought up in this whole social system, and who had done her best to try and keep me, channeled into the social system, and that is why I was constantly rebelling, and I was constantly went through this whole emotional thing of being under a lot of pressure and as if calling myself a bad person for not doing what my mother was asking or what I was asked by society. And I genuinely thought that I was wrong, but yet I could not fall in line with society because it didn't feel right. And all these thoughts were not clear. I had no one to talk to. I had no one to ask advice. There was no internet. So I really didn't know. And college was the only place where I could really express who I was. So I finished my master's and everybody was wondering that why was I being educated so much, and too much education was a bad thing because obviously at a certain point I was more educated than all the proposals apparently I got.
Mm-hmm. And this education had led you to make your own choices, which
exactly, was not good, not right, because I was apparently making the wrong choices all the time.
Yes.
And so my father always said, "You find your own husband."
Oh,
always.
So really, your father was a huge.
He was
positive influence in your life.
Absolutely, yes.
A pillar of strength to you.
Yeah. So apparently, while I was getting all the proposals, he would not approach me with the proposals because he told my mother she'll find her own husband. So one day, when I finally convinced my husband that marriage was not such a bad thing and we didn't have to just only live together later on. There was the days of telegrams. I don't know how many of the young people remember telegrams, but it was the days of telegrams. And because I was a student, I didn't have enough money. I sent a telegram to my father, who was an army officer posted in Sikandrabad at that time. And I said, found boy, arranged marriage. Those are the 4 words I told them. So my father sent a telegram saying, arriving tomorrow, meet me at the platform. And he took post haste a train. And met my husband now, and asked him a question saying, well, my parents were convinced that nobody would ever marry me because I was really
Too,
uncontrollable.
too strong-minded.
Yes. And so they asked him, my father actually asked my present husband, why do you want to marry her? You know? And he had to laugh, and he said, yeah, besides the obvious reason, I have no reason. And so they said, okay, in a year's time, if you still feel the same, then we will arrange the match. So my husband came back to Belgium, and that was supposed to be the test of our relationship. And we seem to have passed that test. And so we got married afterwards. He became a diplomat after we got married. We already had one child. And then, we started a journey together, which involved a lot of things. I couldn't speak Dutch or French or German, which they speak in Belgium. I had to learn the languages. I had to face color discrimination sometimes, which was something completely new to me. A lot has changed since then. In our first posting, I don't want to mention countries, I was carrying my son, who is literally white, and I had a man come up to me and tell me in German, this is not your son, I'm calling the police, this is not your child, because your color is completely different to that of your child. I said, do your worst, I don't care, I don't even understand what you're saying. So, well, I had experiences like that, and which brought to me, I had other worse experiences than that. Not worth mentioning here because that's really the past, and I didn't care then, so why should I care now? But there were issues. There were a lot of social issues because of color.
Yes, I can imagine that, yes.
And so you kind of, I'm talking about 38, 39 years ago, you kind of accept that it's part of life now, and a lot has been done to remove discrimination of color in Europe and abroad.
I wish I could say the same here, because I think inherently we Indians are also very racist about color.
Yes.
If you look at the matrimonial ads, you can see nobody puts out an ad for a dark girl. It's always for a fair girl.
And why? Why should that decide? Why should the color of somebody? This is a given fact now, that the appearance of a person does not decide who or she is.
Well, I don't think people think about it that way. We have a lot of prejudices against people from the Northeast. People don't look conventionally our conventional idea of beauty, which is
exactly
fair. Because I am a South Indian myself, so I've also had a lot of people wondering why I don't have curly hair, or why I'm not, as one of my editors once long ago put it, why are you not black, as South Indians are? So I had to almost apologize for the fact that I wasn't totally black.
Yeah. I was once told that I'm not a Rajput because I'm not tall enough and white enough to be a Rajput.
So we have a lot of stereotypes, and we Indians are also very guilty of it. Of course, I'm sure that in Europe and places like that, it's still very much. It is, I think, getting better, but here it's still,
But okay, it's something that it's the color you're born with. You're born with something, and I came to peace with that a long time ago. You can think what you like. I can't change how I look and what my color is. But
discrimination is much more towards women. Again, since we're talking about empowering of women,
agreed.
The color, the looks, the height, everything is much more about women.
Yeah, because a man is allowed to be fat. He can have a huge paunch. He can have whatever. But a woman, never.
Yes.
He
can also be less educated than you, but it's still a catch for you.
Absolutely.
If you manage to land him.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right about that. But what shocked me, now I was in March for 2 weeks in India. My parents had deceased. And there was a lot of paperwork to be done, especially to get the property transferred into my brothers and my names. I have 2 older brothers. One older brother, one younger brother. So I went to the Tehsil in our area in Maharashtra district, and they were very kind and they were very correct, and they really helped me out, because with the pandemic and the COVID and everything, But you cannot imagine the shock that I had. I have never had this kind of a shock, even with my color or whatever in life. I was discriminated legally for being a married sister. I had no right to inheritance from my parents' property.
Under the Hindu Undivided Family
Something like that. I was too overwhelmed by emotion. So the property there is actually in the name of just my two brothers.
I see, because property rights according to civil law has changed quite a lot. But so I imagine you're talking about ancestral property and the inheritance laws which govern those, right?
But this is, I think it's still statewide. It is not federal. I have to look into this. This is not
I'm
a
not very
federal
sure of
law.
this.
I'm not very sure of it myself because I have to look into this.
So
But
that
he
brings me,
said the tehsil laws don't allow me to write your name as part of the property.
I see you're now part of your husband's household.
Because he said you're a married sister,
Yes.
so you are part of his household. And so when his property is divided or his parents' property is divided in India, you will be part of that. Which to me was, who told anybody that I became a part of that household and I became part of this household? Who decides that?
So how did you resolve this?
I haven't resolved it. This
You
is the
haven't
last
resolved
thing I will do, change, because everybody, and believe you me, educated people of my generation, my university, when I told this to them, they said, why are you worried? Your brothers are such nice people. They will gift it to you. I said, excuse me?
It should be your right, not a gift.
I said, I'm not even talking about my right. I employ 10 ladies. I have women. I employ 12 ladies. I have women attending my classes. These are destitute women. They are married. And tomorrow, when the parents' property is divided, they have no right to it just because they are married, irrespective of what the husband is doing to them. This is discrimination by law. And this to me is unacceptable. I cannot accept this.
No, the whole issue of land rights in India is, of course, a very tricky issue, and most of it is weighed hugely against women. Because in many places, I mean, now because of the pandemic, this issue has come up about women farmers, and very few of them are considered to be farmers because they have no land rights. So
Absolutely.
they don't actually exist on paper as farmers. So a lot of rights that we as women should have is actually tied up with our legal rights to land and property, which we are denied. But of course, there have been a lot of progressive judgments in the courts in recent times.
There has been made
But-
progress has been made, but unfortunately, a lot of it is still in the hands of the local people, who,
Yes.
irrespective of any law, decide. Now, how many of us have the patience, have the money, if I want to fight this, I have to be there.
Or the
To-
time, or the energy,
Yes.
or the
To be there to fight this.
yeah.
And I
can
don't
imagine.
want to fight it. This is my right. I want somebody to acknowledge it. This is my right.
That's right. That's right.
And I don't think it's done on purpose. I think they're just not aware that this antiquated law still exists.
And no, I'm saying you and I are talking about this as people who know about the law, who are in many ways empowered women. Half, or maybe more than half of women in India, much more than half actually, are not even aware that there are laws which actually do exist for their benefit. You know, they have no what's called legal literacy because they have no access to any knowledge about the many schemes that the government has for them, the many empowering schemes the government has for them, the legislations which are empowering for women. They don't even know about it. That is the sad
And-
part of
Lalita, the problem is that when people like me, my NGO, tells the women, we try to tell them, this is your right, this is this, they actually get ashamed and embarrassed. In my father's ancestral town, where I started the NGO,
yes.
I started it almost 9 years ago, I was treated like a pariah. my own family,
Family.
I'm talking about my uncles and aunts and people, the fact that I would go to meet the district magistrate who would not give me the time of the day. I was actually told in the district magistrate's office once, some years ago, I said, I'd written an email to you. You had given me an appointment. He literally said, अरे आपका email तो हवा में उड़ गया होगा, internet से आया था.
This is shocking.
Oh, I said, okay, whatever it is, I'm here now. Could we discuss this further, please? And it's too political. I'm going to leave it out completely. But the thing is that in my own area, where I try to convince the women, you have a voice. I am here to support you. You tell me. They don't dare.
So I was going to ask you that, because you said 12 women working with you. So coming as you do from a social milieu which is largely patriarchal, how did you persuade these women to come and work for you, and that too in a making sanitary napkins? How did you manage to persuade them? Did you have to talk to the male members in the household, or were they able to negotiate this?
Lalita, that's where my supervisors, they are my heroes. And I must say, especially for the skilling of the Silai School, the production unit, it was along with Usha International who sent their people, and they talked to the males and the women and everybody, and we showed them that it was a safe place to come.
Okay.
We convinced them that it was a very safe place to come, and we convinced them that economically this was the best way forward, because there are girls who have been left by their husbands, who have gone back to their parents' families, who are looked down upon by the brothers, who are treated as just rubbish at home.
Burdens.
Complete burdens in society and economically.
And who also spoil the family's honor by coming back home.
Absolutely.
Leaving, not adjusting, that horrible word, adjusting to their marital home.
And these are the women who are now coming to us, and sometimes they say, I can't do it anymore. I said, listen, you can miss one class, but don't give up. And they don't give up. That is where our success lies. They don't give up. We advise them, we show them, because there is one huge thing lacking amongst a lot of the area where we work, is this inability to plan for the future. They think of 1 day, 2 days, maybe 5 days down the line, but to think of some years ahead, because they're all very young people. My goodness.
You think this is because they feel they have no control over their present?
True.
That they can't even think of their future, because they have no control over the major decisions of their life.
And that's why I think religion is so important in this area, because it seems to give them hope.
Okay.
Whatever the God will say will happen. And I tell them, God will do what He wants to do, but you have to take care of your present.
Yes, exactly. So coming back to your NGO, tell me what motivated you to keep going. You faced a lot of problems, a lot of resistance in a often hostile environment, etc. And what would you rate as your single biggest achievement with Urja?
Oh my goodness. Having 12 women work every day for the last so many years. That is my biggest achievement.
Okay.
12 is not a big number in India. But my goodness, you meet these 12 women, they could sit and have an interview with you. They know exactly what to say. They know what hygiene is. They know what they think about the future of their children.
Do you see these women as being able to replicate what you've done on their own in another field, not sanitary napkins or organic?
Oh, without doubt. They have self-confidence.
You feel they have the confidence now.
They have the self-confidence. They absolutely do.
What do you think, in your opinion? We have discussed this, so there's a little bit of repetition here. Are the factors which motivate these women and empower them? One is that you have spoken to them, you have told them that you must come forward, you must shed your, inhibitions or whatever, your fears. What do you think? I mean, did you find a difference in their families towards them after they started working for you, respecting them more?
No, all that does not happen. I think the reason why they come is the first reason why you join any association or whatever.
Strength in numbers?
Exactly. And also like-minded people.
Okay.
They come there and the
Where
joy,
they're valued.
where they are valued, very much so.
Yes.
And then the joy that they have in being fruitful in society, being respected for what they are making. When I show them that their sanitary pads, that their pictures are on Facebook or internationally, look what's happening, it gives them a certain pride in what they are doing.
And yet you say that they still haven't earned the kind of recognition and respect within their own social background, family, whatever. They
Yeah.
haven't.
Well, I don't think it has made that much of a difference. But what I do know is that it will make a difference in the next generation, because we also give small scholarships to really women who are having a difficult time. There's a girl, I call her a girl, she's a married woman. She must be 21, 22 years old. She already has a little son who is 3-4 years old. And she had no income. And of course, she had to go back to her parents' house because the husband left her. In essence, she's married, but she had nothing. So we give her a little scholarship for her child.
And do you see that these women will, in their interactions with their daughters or their sons, if I just say daughters, do you think that it'll be different? It'll be more
I can
inclusive?
only pray and hope, but I know that there is a difference because we've got a lot of young girls working. We even had one who worked for us and was quite outgoing, and she did a lot for the sanitary pad unit. And then she got married, and we gave her a certificate. And she said, I'm going to go and work after I get married too. So,
Sorry, I should have shut this off.
no, it's okay.
Um,
A journalist time is never her own. Yes.
was there any point of time on your journey with Urja, it's been many, many years, that you felt so, did anything happen, or did you feel so disheartened that you said, I don't need to do this? And a person like you, which I greatly admire, is that you didn't need to do this. You could have been the wife of the diplomat and just
Yeah.
enjoyed that kind of thing. But was there some time when you said, that's it, I can't deal with this? These
Yes.
are insurmountable problems.
I did have that, yes. I have had the point where I tried to work with the authorities. I wanted to do, I said, if you have a program, I never wanted to start an NGO, Lalita, under no circumstance. I wanted to support somebody. I wanted to support an NGO. And I
Yes.
wanted to support an NGO in the fields that were important to me and are important to me. Climate control, sustainable environment, women empowerment. So my first thing was, I said, when I started almost 9 years ago, there was lack of electricity in this area. So I read an article in The Economist which talked about TERI, and it was entitled Lighting a Billion Lives.
Okay.
So I said, well, this is just something after my own heart. And I just contacted TERI. And I think I got lucky. I had a woman at the other end. And I had been looking up on the internet to see which NGO I could join in this area. And there were 12. So I contacted TERI, and she said, I said, listen, I'm very keen to support somebody who is working in this field. Do you have experience of working with somebody in this area? And I think she was having a bad day. And she said, Madam, just forget all these NGOs. They're all nothing but political fronts. Start your own, we'll support you.
Okay.
And that's what I did. I had no knowledge. I just told them, I need this and I need that. And she said, okay, there's another NGO called Shramik Bharti in whom we believe in Kanpur. Talk to them. And that's where we started. But after that, yes, there were many times. Because when you start projects, you're asking people for help and
The bureaucracy of getting permissions, permits.
well, and also
funding.
funding,
Funding.
huge funding issues, because unfortunately, I have not been able to take any funds from the government.
Because of the fact that you're a diplomat's wife? Or?
No, it's
Yes.
unfortunately I've been told too many times, आप जो भी लाएंगी 30% मेरा होगा,
Of course.
and I
That's
cannot. Yeah, so for me, I don't even want to go there.
Tell me, Raka, now you are not living in India at the moment. Do you think that your lack of your physical presence, at least your physical proximity, let me not say physical presence, will affect your NGO? And do you have plans to scale up now?
Yeah. So thanks to my supervisors, we don't need me basically. I just need to raise the funds, tell them we are doing this project and this is how this project has to go ahead, and they take it forward. So my day-to-day running of my NGO is just taken care by, Gagan Chaturvedi and Arun Mishra. God bless them. I hope they will always stay with us. We are scaling up. We are trying to make sure that the women empowerment part of it flourishes. And the only way to empower these women in this area is to give them the means to earn their own living within the social structure that's available to them. So, for example, we all laugh that beauty parlors and this and that, kind of fritter away. But actually, it's such a good source of income for these women.
Yes.
Come wedding time, anybody who is trained can make a good living.
And also, for so many women, it's a little time away from the chores of home and somewhere where you can sit and chat with, other women.
Everybody has earned that right.
Yes, everybody. That's right.
Life shouldn't be just about working, and you should have some fun too.
Yes, that's true. So, what is your message to the kind of women you work with women from low-income communities, who are constrained by their birth, I would say, the patriarchy, the men in their family, the customs, the traditions, etc. What would your message be for them in terms of empowerment?
Talk to somebody. There is always, yes.
Would you say try and get an education, or?
I think that's even difficult at this stage. Even if they want to get educated, they don't have the chance to do that. Whatever your worry, whatever your concern in the world, you're not alone. I want every woman to feel she's not alone. You're never alone. And if it's not your family who will support you, go outside. Write to us, call us. If you can't write, call us. We will help you. We will, if nothing, advise you.
So, you're not alone.
You're not alone. Nobody is alone. And it's not just for women, it's also for the men. You're not alone.
You mentioned that the women who work with you, they break the glass ceiling every day.
Every day.
Have they inspired others in the same community to come forward or to think of entrepreneurship of their own, or to try and join you or ask your advice to set up things of their own?
It's good that you asked me this. When we first started the sanitary pad unit 4 years ago, after 1 month, the women, and that's where strength in numbers, they said, if you don't increase our salaries, we will not come to work anymore. We will strike.
Strike.
1 month, after 1 month, I said, listen, you people are still not, and I was giving them a decent salary. You are still not, your hands are not set, you're not producing the number of pads that you should normally produce. So give it time. No, we will strike. You have to increase our salaries. I said, sorry, I don't have the funding for that because we are not selling the pads. So if you want to leave, you can leave. And they didn't come. And my supervisor said, my God, you've made such an investment. All this has cost so many lakhs of rupees. I said, don't worry. After a week, we had a line of 30 women wanting to work.
That's fantastic.
And even today, we are popular simply because we've given them their self-respect.
And this, the sanitary napkins that we mentioned, which is of the most interest to me, in all the very excellent work that you're doing, is it marketed in shops, through retail, or to fair price
We're
shops?
doing our best. So our website, of course, you can get all information about it. We're selling online through punya.in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a question of just either calling us or whatever. We will make it available.
So how do you pass this information on to women who need these sanitary napkins?
So every week, 2 of our women, they go out. We try to teach them how to sell it.
Okay.
So we're teaching them the skill of selling the product, to be proud of their product, which is a very difficult step for women from this area to go out because they've got to ask permission.
Yes.
And but we have succeeded. Each of the women, 2 of them, they go out and they try to sell it. And a lot of the sales is done by me. I'm trying to talk to big companies. I'm trying to, unfortunately, India still does not believe that a good product will cost some money.
Yes.
Nobody wants to pay the price. Even though I pay all the salaries, I subsidize everything. What the 30 rupees is just literally the cost price of the pads.
Mm-hmm. And does the fact that it's biodegradable, environmentally friendly, does that make a difference to the women that you're selling this product to?
They understand the concept, because the thing is, I always tell them, they understand the concept very well, because they say, look, for me, environment is very important. Tomorrow, you don't have to find a place to, quietly hide it away. I'm not saying you litter the area, but at least even if you don't find a place to throw it away, I can guarantee you between 3 to 6 months, it will disappear.
Okay, that's very important.
So that was very important to me, and that is why to produce each pad, it costs us 1.5 rupees more.
And do you source all the material for your? Are we running out of time? Do you source all the material locally, or do you have to buy it?
No, unfortunately not. We have to get it from Maharashtra. It costs us a lot of money.
That would add to the cost, I would imagine. Would you think?
It does. But
So 30
the NGO bears all the costs.
The NGO bears all the
NGO bears all the costs.
So I don't want you to get into too much detail. Obviously, you can't. But on the funding aspect, are you confident that you'll be getting funding as we go? I know the pandemic has caused more problems in terms of transportation of materials, and various other.
Once again, that's where I have some men who believe in what I do.
Okay.
So I have some male friends who have helped me get the solar, who have helped me just give the funding for certain projects, especially for the sanitary pad unit. I have friends who have helped me, and these are male people. Even in Belgium, I have somebody who is at the top of the climate control discussions for the International Panel for Climate Control. Mm-hmm. He even came and saw the unit himself with his wife. So there are people who support me, but if I had more funding, I would be able to really distribute these sanitary pads for free, which is what I want to do.
Maybe, I don't know, I a small point of disagreement there, because people tend not to value things which are given free.
I agree. I agree. That
even if it's a token amount, it's still worth, saying that this is some value to you.
But there are other people who produce more than 1,000 to 2,000 or 10,000 pads a day. And if you open their packets, it's got fungus in it.
Oh my God.
But because we are now matching their prices, but we constantly have to hear, you're an NGO, you can give it to us for free.
Have you done any kind of survey or, in that area of how much it has helped women's health? Because unhygienic menstrual practices
Yeah.
and materials causes a lot of
Absolutely.
health problems. So have you, do you highlight that aspect when you talk to women about buying your sanitary napkins?
100%. We've had
Improves the health?
awareness raising programs. We have had, there's this company called Oxygen, which makes these units to pay small payments and things. They helped us raising awareness and stuff like that. But the study, no, we haven't done whether we helped anybody or not. It has not
In
been,
terms of health.
yeah, no, that we have not been able to do because the sales are still not so large.
Because poor hygiene causes reproductive tract infections and stuff, which
Exactly.
again, just so many ramifications. And tell me a little bit now about your organic rice, because we talked a lot about it. And I can see from all the messages coming in that many people say Raka is truly an inspiration. It's a privilege and honor to work with her as a partner, Rohan Garg.
Yes. So he's from Punya. Yes.
Empowering to hear such stories.
Yeah.
What a fantastic message for women. A lot of
Yes.
comments coming in.
So the rice, that was a childhood dream. I had eaten it when I was very, very little, very young, and two sadhuain, two women priests had come to my parents' house, and they had brought this rice with them. And I was 5 years old, and they let me eat a bit from it. And I never forgot the taste of that rice, and I never found it back. Some years ago, I went to Pusa Institute, and I said, this is the rice. And I harassed them to the point where they said, contact Baijnath Singh in Gorakhpur. He has some seeds of this rice. So they gave me 13 kilos.
This is an indigenous variety of rice.
Indigenous variety, which fossilized versions of it were found in the kitchen of Buddha's father.
Wow.
And we also have a certificate from the Buddhist Council of India saying that we are true producers of this Kala Namak strain of rice and things like that.
That's what it's called? Kala Namak strain
Kala
of rice?
Namak. It's called Kala Namak. It's called Kala Namak because the husk is black.
And this is marketed across India or just in
Well, we are trying to. We don't produce that much anyway, so it gets sold quite quickly.
And it's also, rice is a crop which is very weather dependent, isn't it?
Well, we're only allowed to produce one crop a year because it's very water intensive.
Yes.
So that's rightly so because it does take a lot of water. But that's really a passion of mine. It's completely organic, much to the disappointment of my supervisors who would like, Nini, you should put in some fertilizer and it'll do better, and we're going to do this.
So I'm sure you do use fertilizer, right?
No. We use
organic fertilizer.
Organic, yes. So everything is neem based. All our fertilizers are neem based. We use neem oil. And also the fertilizer starts by, I don't want to go into too much detail. We sow dhencha, which goes on for 6 weeks, and then after that we plow that back into the ground. And that fixes the nitrate levels that are necessary. And
do you have any scientific advisors for this?
Well, we do have Baijnath Singh, who's been advising us on this, living in Gorakhpur. He was from the Rice Institute.
It can't be easy.
It's not easy, but okay. Now we are already into our 4th year, and we feel very good about it, and we've become quite good at it too.
You should think of exporting it then, maybe as a
God, that's a nightmare. Oh yes, we would love to export it, but I think I'll have to come back in another lifetime to do that.
So how much time? How many times a year do you think you have to physically come back to India to oversee this? Or
I have to come back every time the government changes its policies. I have to sign papers. I have to do a lot of things. I go to the center because I love to be there. So I come back for my own pleasure. and of course to keep the contact with everybody, and to hear some encouraging things. Like we started with Raj Eye Clinic, we started a eye clinic thing on a daily basis, and there one of the men, he came and said, for the first time my best compliment came from the place itself, and he said, what you have started here is simply fantastic, thank you. That's the first thank you I got.
And your daughter, is she interested?
Yes, she used to do my social media for a long time, but
that's very important these days to
yes,
be on social
it's
media.
not a sector I will ever advise my children to get into, ever.
The NGO sector?
Yes, never.
That's a shame.
It's
So
a shame.
we need more people like
Yes.
you to do these,
Yes.
Across
It's
India.
hard work.
We need this.
All of life is hard work, but it's very hard work.
And I think with the pandemic, the role of NGOs like this is much more crucial now.
It is very crucial. Unfortunately,
Many women
it's
have
not
just
being
got cut off
appreciated.
from.
Yeah, it's not appreciated. Not appreciated.
And I think we are almost at the end of our time.
We
So
have run out of time. Yeah.
we've run out of time. Okay, sorry. So let me ask you, what would be your one short message for women's empowerment in India or across the world, whatever, in India maybe.
Well, try to break the usual, don't think every day in the same way. Open yourself. Try to break the tradition of how you've been thinking.
Okay.
Because mental change is vital. Absolutely vital. Whether you're in India or abroad, it is vital. Do not have any prejudged conclusions about anything in life. Anything.
Thank you, Raka. That was really, truly inspiring and most enjoyable talking to you. And as for me, what the takeaway from talking to you is that when you set your mind to it, despite all the obstacles, nothing is impossible. I mean, you broke into a patriarchal milieu, and these women have come out dealing with a subject which is very taboo even today, even to most women. And my only message would be that we should not think of the genders on parallel tracks. We need the involvement and partnership with men, because as you have said, how valuable the advice and partnership with men was in the success of your NGO and your endeavors. So I think the one thing that we do leave out a lot is when we talk about gender issues in India, is we just focus solely on women. And that has been to the detriment of women themselves, say, for example, in family planning, it's a woman's issue. It's not a woman's issue at all. We should, and rather than think in adversarial terms, we should think in a very much more collaborative, cooperative partnership terms with men. I think that's one way
I agree wholeheartedly.
Men can benefit as well.
Absolutely. And they need help too. We're all human beings. Men need help too.
So I think this is one thing that in many of our policies, it's for women, it's just women. I think that kind of insular outlook should go. That's my message.
Absolutely.
And you have been called the legendary Mrs. Raka Singh in another message which has just come in.
As are you, Lalita. We have to reverse the roles next time, and you have to talk about. You've done all the research.
I have something in common with you, was that mention of the telegram in your marriage. Mine was exactly the same. A telegram was shot off to summon my husband to the marriage by my dad. So, my gosh, I've not even seen a telegram in about So, but thank you so very much. And thank you very much, Shefali and Kayati, for your introduction and for organizing this wonderful platform. And I hope we'll see many more of these kind of interactions on Facebook and other social media platforms. Just so very important for women, especially in a time of pandemic when you're cut off from so many familiar, comforting parts of your life. And this itself, this kind of discussion is so very empowering for women. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.